What's up, Ben?
Hey.
How's it going?
Yeah, alright. How are you?
I'm good. Just hanging out.
Cool. What are we gonna do first? We do Spaceballs.
We're gonna do Orcs first. I'm good. Just hanging out. You okay with that one?
Right, which one do you say? The YouTube video just made loud noises in my ear.
The delay, I heard it. I was like, oh no, what did I do?
No, which one? So Spaceballs, is that what we said?
Orcs. If you're okay with orcs.
Cool. Yeah, whatever. Let me find the cheat sheet.
I'm okay with orcs as well. How was the weekend?
Yeah, what did I do? I played lots of games. I went to 2 different board game cafes.
Oh wow, sweet. What'd you play?
Viticulture, probably the best game we played.
Oh yeah?
Play that game. The game is super good.
That's cool.
What else did I play? Through the Desert. You played that one?
No, I've never even heard of that.
That's like a cool. Do you know who ran it series?
No.
He's like a old school designer. It's kind of cool. It's a little bit like you're building camels through a desert. You're like route building.
Sure.
It's cool.
That's fun.
Yeah, I liked it.
So
yeah,
overall,
a lot of
good
games.
weekend.
Yeah, it was kind of chill. Drank a lot of wine. We have like a local Portuguese winery,
Oh yeah?
just like literally 2 minutes from our where we're staying, and they sell like 8 liters of wine or 16 liters of wine for like less than $50. Super good. And my girlfriend and my roommate are like super obsessed with wine.
Are they connoisseurs?
Yeah, well, they both speak fluent French and both
Oh, that's
lived
cool.
in France for ages.
That's cool.
And France has the best wine.
Indeed. You know what I did this weekend?
No, sorry, I should have asked you. How was your weekend?
No, you don't have to worry about asking me, but I am going to tell you because I'm kind of hyped about it right now. I
Okay.
went and bought Keyforge decks.
See, I don't know how I feel about that. How was it?
It's pretty cool. I haven't played it yet, but I opened 3 of the 4, and I really like it so far. I think it's really interesting.
Do you know what? I was watching Tom Vassell's Dice Tower just did a review of it.
Yeah. What did he say?
And I just can't get. He likes it, but I can't get over the names of the decks. I think they're just so weird. And
Yeah, some of them are very strange. Some of them are very cheesy. I have
yes,
Zero the Loudly Psychic as one of them.
quite nonsense. Isn't it?
I've got the Belligerent Sprinter, which is a funny one. Just a guy who's super angry, just running, just screaming.
But yeah, I don't know.
I got one more today that I opened. I got 2 more today, and one of the ones I opened was McNally of Elfspar. So that one kind of sounds like RPG-esque.
Yeah.
But really cool idea behind it. It scratches the itch of sort of like delving into the unknown that pack opening gives you. But you open an entire deck, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I don't know. I'm into the whole idea of it.
The only reason they would go fairly so when I was looking at the review, I was like, yeah, they do seem like they would match up against each other. But I think that's because the abilities are kind of just generic.
The cards are often used. I mean, like, there's still rarity of cards, too.
Yeah.
And it is sort of the classic core set. So you can see, obviously, they're not dropping everything they could possibly drop, which is important. But yeah, I could definitely see them, if they release a second set, quote-unquote set, because it's all brand new decks, mixing in old ideas with new ideas and old mechanics with new mechanics. Certainly something that could snowball rather
Which is
than...
kind of what happens. Yeah, which is kind of what happens in all deck building games. And I think actually talking about these kind of team packs in particular, I feel like there was a couple of cards which were just like, oh yeah, this is just a reprint of like an old...
Yeah. Well, I think with Dice Masters itself and the idea of reprinting and recreating these cards is that they're trying to recreate and reprint cards that were in the old format, the old model, for this new model, so that people who are just getting into the game, hopefully, off the coattails of this new format switch, now have the opportunity to play those cards.
Yeah.
Without having to chase them down. And then you also have the the veterans that have played the game since it was released, that have these old abilities that they can't make use of or take advantage of anymore, that now all of a sudden can because the card's been reprinted. So it's that sort of thing.
I thought it would be interesting to see how Keyforge does. I'm not as interested in it as other people are. Just because I think the theme is like non-existent, and that the deck names really put me off, and the artwork puts me. I don't like the artwork.
I didn't like the artwork until I saw the artwork for 2 or 3 of the different factions, the different houses. I dislike the artwork for the Mars house.
Yeah, I dislike that. It's really it just.
But the more art,
looks a bit goofy.
Yeah, that one does. The more artwork I see for some of the factions, I'm starting to really like it. Like the Barbarian faction looks really cool. Artwork, some of the artwork on this faction called Dis looks really cool. I'm calling them faction, their houses. But yeah, it really, and there's one that I don't even have a deck of yet, all Untamed, and they're all like beasts and animals and stuff. Looks very, very cool. Looks a lot more mature, and that's kind of the art style I wish they would have gone for completely.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, it's going to live or die on what happens
competitively
and then printing the second set and how that goes down.
Totally.
And if they can keep things fresh enough.
Indeed. Well, you ready to get started?
Let's go.
It doesn't look like there's a ton of people hanging out with us, but maybe they'll come as it goes. The stream has been going up and down too, so we will see if that provides some stability or instability, and that might cause people to float in and out. But I say we get started. All right. Let me see. I want to make sure you're turned up all the way as much as I can possibly get it. Cool. Okay, so let's talk first about the rankings and the A through F rankings that we give. What would you describe an A as, Ben?
So A is like will be on every team, or at least considered for most teams, if not all teams, and will be in the top 8 or so a competitive event, and will be like a cornerstone piece of that team. Yeah.
So examples of that are what?
Currently, well, I mean, Yanti is probably all the Yantis are probably A's.
Yeah.
With the Yanti Super Rare being like an A+. Something like lower down, like something like Professor X is probably an A, just because of the global and how useful that is. So there's a variety of different reasons, but the cards that just appear and everyone in the community knows what they are.
Yeah, exactly. What about Bs? How do you evaluate something to be a B?
Yeah, so sort of just below that, as a B would be. So something that's not going to fit on every team, but when it fits on that team, it's going to do a lot of work. It might be also kind of like a themed card, which makes a particular theme really, really sing. So something like a Nick Fury, one of the original Nick Furies, not Patch, I think that was probably an A, but one of the ones that makes Avengers free to field.
Yeah.
Or gets really buffed off of other cards of similar affiliations.
And it can still be a win con.
Kind of ramp, or yeah.
So this is, for me, this is something that makes you want to build a team because it can fit, but it's just not quite competitive enough to be on a super competitive team. Something semi-competitive.
And it might be like your 7th or 8th slot as well on a competitive team.
Sure. What about C's?
If you have a space. Sort of. I think B and C is kind of a difficult choice most of the time. C's are basically Bs that don't quite sing for whatever reason. They don't quite have that same punch for whatever reason. So it might be that they reduce the fielding by 1 instead of making them all free to field or something like that. So they have a cool ability that's situationally good, but it's not necessarily always useful, and probably won't make most competitive teams, but will be a good kind of, if you're having fun with a friend, they'll be good cards to play around with.
C's for me are just fine cards, like you would snatch that up in a draft and it would do some decent work for you, and you would play it in limited or casual, or maybe even throw a bunch of C's onto a semi-competitive team around a linchpin B card.
Yeah, so I think maybe
they just
C's
fit,
season a draft to like your 5th and 6th cards that go on your team, or 7th or 8th.
Yeah.
If you're very lucky.
Yeah. Now moving on to Ds. Describe a D for us.
Probably not very useful. Could be very, very situationally useful in a very particular slot. Stuff with low cost and okay stats but no ability, or stuff that's just really too expensive for what the ability does.
Yeah.
So like a 7 cost with a really cool ability that just doesn't ever get played because you're never going to be able to buy the 7 cost to do a when fielded effect.
Yep.
But, here's one thing.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also a card that has a functional ability that you could play, but that we've seen done a little bit better on a card before.
Yeah, it's a card that's never going to be played, but you could play it if you really like that character or something.
Yeah, it's possible. It's just not optimal.
Yes.
And then finally, that leaves us with the dreaded F.
Yes, and there are a few in some of these sets. The F is just I would never play it. I don't think anyone else would ever play it. I think you describe it as a coaster card.
Yeah. This is a card that if you need something to put your drink on, then you can set it down. Maybe the art is kind of nice. Maybe you look at it and make a little collage with it. But you're not playing this card because the card is so horrible that it doesn't do anything good for you, and it's actually detrimental to put onto your team because you take up a slot with it. So not a very good card in general.
One of my friends had a blank wooden dice tower and sort of cut up some of his spare cards and stuck them on to make it look nice.
See, there you go. Art projects.
Yeah. So F's art projects, yeah.
Exactly. So with that all being said, now that we all know where we're going to be sitting on these grading scales, let's start with the Orcs team pack. And the very first one, and it's weird, but the Dice Coalition doesn't have these in exact alphabetical order by subtitle, but I have it in the Dice Coalition order this time. So the first one is indeed Salvaged Monstrosity, which is...
I feel like these Orcs, the battle wagons that we're going to go through, are really good examples of all the ratings because they're kind of fluctuating.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. So the first one we have is Battle Wagon Salvaged Monstrosity, a 4-drop it's a Bolt character with that Orc affiliation. It's got a 1/4/2, 2/5/3, 3/5/5 stat line, range 1, and then it says Battle Wagon has range 3 instead of range 1 if an active opposing character die has range. So Ben, would you like to talk about this first, sir?
Yes, it is. It's an okay card. Range, I think, is better than I gave it credit for in our previous ratings. Having played around with it a little bit. But I have some problems with this card, namely the fielding cost for a die you probably want to be attacking with. Pretty awful.
Yeah.
And I mean, range 3 is nice if your opponent has range. I just don't think it does enough for what the cost, particularly fielding, are on the die.
Yeah, I agree. I think a 3/5/5 for 4 is asking a bit much. Like a 2/5/5 for 4 is a little better. 5/5 for 4 is pretty good, but range 1 is not impactful enough, especially if it just stays range 1. If you get range 3 on this, then that's kind of interesting because that KO is something bigger than just a sidekick.
Well, the issue for me is that it's the 3/6/6. I mean, it'll stay alive, but on level 1 and level 2, it has even worse defense. It has
a 4/2 and a 5/3, yeah.
So it's going to get KO'd if you attack with it, probably.
Agreed, and then you got to pay the fielding cost again.
I don't know. It could be good, and you can get it out on 6 and then just leave it there as maybe a threat if your opponent has range. And then draft, this could be cool.
Yeah. So I gave this a D overall, mainly because it's just a range 1 for most of the time. You can guarantee it with the Orc Boy Global that we'll see in a little bit, but I give it a D. What did you give it?
Yeah, D. Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. We're not going to make this a 2-hour and 45-minute stream like last time because my voice will not hold out. The next one is Battle Wagon Assault Tank. Also 4-drop, same affiliation. This one just has frag on it. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, this is even worse. Just because now you're definitely wanting to attack with it, right? Like at least before you could leave it in the field and maybe just not attack with it.
Yeah.
This one, to get frag, you have to attack with it.
Yep.
And it's either going to get KO'd or you've already paid 3 to field it.
Now
And then
the only upside I see in this is that you buy this turn 1, get it out turn 3, and then push, and they have to block with like a sidekick, and then it wipes some more sidekicks, and you keep it in the field. Otherwise, they take a quarter of damage. But the only situation you're ever doing that in is in draft.
Yep.
And so for me, I gave this a D minus.
I gave it an F. I'm not buying this and getting out turn 3 just to pay 3 fielding cost, and then the only thing I do on that turn is
shot. That's a great point. Yeah. Not a great card. That's not a good one. Let's look at the next one. Battle Wagon Heavy Troop Transport, still a 4-drop. This one has range 1, and it says, while Battle Wagon is active, when an opposing character die is KO'd by range, prep a die from your bag. So what do you got for this?
Yeah, this is a bit tricky because when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, the fielding cost is terrible. Screw this card. I'm going to give it I think I gave it a D initially. But then I looked at it again, having played around with range a bit, and I like the fact that range triggers off other things.
Yeah.
So if you use this on a team of range characters, you have a bunch of other range, and you're not necessarily attacking with this. You're just using it as your ramp. You're leaving it in the field.
Yep.
Sure, you paid 3 to field it, but it's a big dude. It can stay there, and then you can get some pretty crazy ramp out of this. If you can get a whole team of range.
You could push every turn with one character and then KO all of their sidekicks that they field, and you're getting at least 2 to 3 dice, and that's just if you're KOing sidekicks. If they have something else that's in the field that you can kind of focus on and KO, then you KO that as well, and you're getting stuff out of the way for your push. It's pretty good. This is also the same ability that was printed on Primaris Aggressor, and I liked that card. So both of these I think are good.
I'm going to have to remember what I gave that, actually, before I tell you what I gave this, I suppose.
That's a good question. Just to dip back into the old other grade, right? I think this one was the Relentless Advance. Yeah, it's Relentless Advance. I gave that one a B minus. That one had better fielding costs, and I think it was a 5/5 on top. It was a 2/5/5. And that one also has 2 affiliations. And because of that, I give this one slightly less. So I give that one a B minus. I give this one a C plus. But I could probably argue B minus as well, just because you're putting this onto a range team that is also orcs, and it has orc affiliation, which has some upsides and benefits and protections in place as well. So I could argue C plus.
Yeah, well, I gave that Primaris. How much was the Primaris Aggressor? Is it the same cost?
4.
4 as well. Okay. Yep. Well, I gave this one a B, which shows you, and I gave the other one a C plus.
Well,
so that shows you what a difference, playing around with range.
Exactly right.
Does. So I'm gonna probably just give this a straight up C as C.
C.
Yeah, I think so. If I'm going with C plus for my first one, don't know. I this ability is pretty good, so I could see it C or a B.
C or a B. Cool. Let's keep it cruising. I like
depends
that card.
How good a whole range. It depends how good a whole range team is, I suppose.
Yeah. The next card and character that we have is I'm gonna try this. Ghazghkull Thraka, and this is the WA version. It's a 6-drop mask character, same affiliation. All of these are going to have the Orc affiliation. It's got a 154, 165, 38. Is it 388? I believe.
Yep.
388 stat line. It's got range 2, and it says when Ghazghkull. I don't know, man. When the guy uses range, you may KO any number of your sidekick character dice, and for each sidekick character die KO'd, increase his range by 1. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame this guy is so hard to pronounce because he's probably my favorite character in the whole set.
Really? That's super cool.
Not this version necessarily, but him. I mean,
gotcha.
In all his versions, but this version is pretty good. I mean, I'm giving it a B. It's just very easy to trigger range.
Yes, it is.
Range 2 is nice. I mean, probably 6 is probably too much. But being able to cycle your sidekicks is super useful. You can get a bunch of ramp from that.
Yeah.
Which is useful. And then you can increase range as a bonus to that. Probably for a 6 cost, you're wanting to win the game, and I don't think he's going to win you the game. But on the right team, maybe he could, where you get some kind of benefit for carrying your sidekicks.
Yep.
If you match it with the when fielded ally, I was thinking the Jarvis. For each character you field this turn, do an amount of damage to your opponent. You can KO that whenever you want.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good.
That's important to remember, is that you're KOing sidekick character dice, which allies are because they're in the field.
Yeah.
And so you're allowing yourself to sort of set that up. I gave this a C just because while it is cool to kind of cycle and give yourself some ramp by keeping out all those things, you're still paying 6 to get this, and then you're paying either 1 or 3 to get this in the field. And then you're using range. Hopefully you have a range character in the field. Otherwise you have to push with this, which you're pushing with an 8/8. That's not bad. It's going to get blocked most likely. And you're, flipping the board in a little bit, but that's a lot of investment for what looks to me like not a ton of benefit in this case. So I gave it a C.
I'm giving him I can see why you'd say that. I think his stats are good. I like the fact that 165 is really good. 165 is really good. That's second level. The third level is just a very average. First level is okay as well, but I mean, I just like it. I think because he's adjacent to the card we're going to talk about next, boosted him up a bit more.
Sure.
But I really like hero abilities.
Yeah, and, it is nice to cycle and then get yourself ramp when you need it without having to lock in ramp. But you do have to have some ramp before you have him out there because you've gotten him there. So
might be it kind of suffers from the same thing Dark Side suffers from, right?
Yeah, you got to get the ramp to get the ramp.
So I think you'd probably want him as your secondary source of ramp, and then have a reason that you want to KO all the sidekicks.
Sure. Yep. No, I see it.
That's where it benefits. So if you could have a win KO'd ally,
then something like that makes a little bit more sense. Yeah. You have to build around it, definitely. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is the one you're talking up. Ready? This is Ghazghkull Thraka, Prophet of Gork and Morg. Yeah, that's going to continue this whole time. And this one says, while Ghazghkull Thraka is active once per turn, when you could use a global ability, you may KO a character die you control, and if you do, deal 1 damage to target opponent. Lay it on us.
This dude is just, I mean, so there is nothing like this anymore in modern. You had Blue Eyes White Dragon, right? Which was the reason that global ability was just so ridiculously powerful, is being able to trigger when KO'd abilities on your opponent's turn.
Yep.
There are so many good when KO'd abilities that you want to use on your opponent's turn. And this just gives you instant access to it. You don't have to pay anything.
Well, you got to pay 6 and then get it out of the field. But that's once you've done that, it's free.
Yep.
Which is cool.
And gives you a little bit of damage as well.
It gives you a ping, yeah. I'm really curious to see if this cuts through and does some stuff, because I feel like that ability is strong, and it's strong enough to really build around and sit down and reconsider a bunch of when KO'd effects, and how you could use them on your opponent's turn when you want, before attackers are declared, or even after attackers and blockers are declared, and now you can use it during the globals portion. It's really cool.
I just like the ability of the blowing up your field Wolverine.
Exactly.
Like the Harley Quinn, which makes you re-roll everything.
That would be a good one too, yeah.
Or like even Rocket Raccoon, like it's another way. So one of the things I've been thinking about for Worlds is how to get around Scarlet Witch. And it's very difficult to get around Scarlet Witch because she triggers so early in your turn that you can't really do anything before the Scarlet Witch that makes you reroll action dice. And this one gives you access to like a Rocket Raccoon, KO Rocket Raccoon on your opponent's turn, ping that off.
Deal the damage, and then it's your turn.
Yep.
Yeah,
Their character's out for your turn.
It's a cool ability.
It is.
I'm just curious if 6-drop makes it a little bit difficult to get to, but yeah, I like it a lot. I gave this one a B. Yeah. What'd you give it?
I gave it a B+.
B+.
But that plus is just because this is such a fun.
This makes you happy.
Interesting ability, yeah. And I mean, again, 6 costs, but it doesn't win you the game, which might be a problem.
Is it though? It's not. It's possible, but I mean, Dark Side didn't win you a game. It gave you a bunch of ramp. This could give you something to the same effect of powerful. 6, yeah.
And Dark Side kind of impacted the meta a little bit, but then kind of fell off. Pretty quickly as well, and I'm wondering if this
Batman was the same way. It dropped like a couple of weeks before Worlds did, and so you saw it at Worlds. I'm curious if this probably won't pop up because the meta is so like permanent right now, but Still a cool card. So B and B plus.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to mess around with it if we had the product. I mean, if you had a little bit of lead up time, I don't think this is one you can just drop in.
Yeah, exactly. You have to proxy it and practice with it.
I feel like that with the Harley Quinn that blows up the whole board is pretty cool.
It is very cool. Ready for the last one?
Yep.
Ghazghkull Thraka, Giant Orc Warlord, 7-drop version. When Ghazghkull Thraka deals combat damage to an opponent, you may KO any number of your character dice you control. For each die KO'd this way, deal 1 damage to your opponent. So this one's a little bit more tricky to trigger because it says when he deals combat damage to an opponent. That's when you get to do any of this other stuff.
Yep.
So, like maybe you throw this alongside Guardian of the Faith, or you force block and like give it Overcrush. It's not a ton of things that you're hoping. It doesn't do as much as you'd want it to, especially for 7. I'm curious why they went 7 on this one, just to, I guess, give it a really bad variant, because I don't think this card is as nearly as good as those other ones. So I mean,
it's just not. So why make it more expensive? I mean, if this had been dropped down to a 5, I mean, I can see that, give it a worse ability.
Yeah,
I guess it lets you KO any number of character dice, which could be really interesting. But I mean, the dealing combat damage to your opponent is very difficult when you have such a big die. I mean, if you could buy multiple of these and then swing with a bunch of little ones, if this was on a 2-cost character which only had 1-2 attack or something, then
yeah, it's just not doing enough, and you're not connecting face with most of its damage in a lot of ways. So I'm not seeing this one.
It'd be interesting if it was like not combat. If it was just damage, then there's stuff you could do like the old lantern ring.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's stuck on the combat, isn't it? So
yeah, I like the fact they're doing interesting abilities, but yeah, I give this a D.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a D as well because I don't think that's impactful enough. All right, moving on to, if I can press the button, we've got Mogrok, Know-It-All Get, 5-drop shield character, a 1/2/5 1/3/6 2/4/6 stat line. It's got range and 1, and it says while Mogrok is active, your other orc character dice get +1/+1. Talk to us, Ben. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. It's just too expensive.
By how much?
I like probably. I mean, if it was a 4-cost, if you buy it turn 1,
yeah,
then it might have impact. Just because you could always consider giving you. And the orcs have pretty good stats as they are.
Yeah,
the +1, I don't think makes that much of a difference.
I don't think so either.
Not for 5.
Yeah, it's very statted like Malekith is. If you look at it, I mean, it's a 2/5 3/6 4/6, right? 4/6
4/8
4/8. Excuse me. So it's a little upside, more dependent on that third side is way better. But yeah, it's got a similar ability to the 4-drop Malekith that gives your sidekicks +1/+1.
Yep.
But it only gives your other orcs +1/+1. So it's got a slightly worse ability, and it's more expensive.
It's not a bad card. It's just
not bad. Card. I give it a C.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Next one, War of Cunnin, 5-drop still. It says when Mogrok blocks and is not KO'd, spin him up 1 level. And then it's got a global that says pay a shield. Target character gets +1 defense until the end of the turn. Thoughts?
I like the ability. I think there's another die coming up later which spins up, which is better. This is cool. Just the stats, I mean, you're just going to let it through though, aren't you?
Yeah, right now you will. This card will get better when we all get that stat flip global back, which they were spoiling. So this card gets a lot better then, but it's still a 5-drop. And so yeah, you stat flip for an 8 attack character, but you know, it's not that impactful in comparison to, you know, a bunch of other things you do at lower drops.
So I liked it on the She-Hulk. There was a She-Hulk which kind of spun up from a 5 to a 6 to an 8 attack. And then you kind of got benefits out of it because it became harder and harder to not block it.
Yeah.
And then getting levels for free is very useful. The global is okay. But right now you're just going to let it through.
Yeah, there's just not a ton of synergies alongside this. So you look at the ability and it spins it up and you're like, okay, I'll just let it through. 2 damage, 3 damage, 4 damage. So what? So
yeah, I like it. Maybe if you want to guarantee spinning something else up, like an Ant-Man. This guarantees having at least a level 2 die to spin down that you can spin something else up with a polymorph global. But for a 5 cost, I mean, it's not worth it. I don't think they're just better ways to spin
There's
up your
better ways. I agree. I give this a D.
Yeah, same.
All right, let's keep going then.
With the stat flip, it might be better.
It might get better, but I mean, it's still 5 drop.
Yeah.
The third one is the red Wah, and it says while Mogrok is active, prep the first action die you purchase each turn.
I like this. It kind of suffers from, what die was it? I can't remember what it was, but the problem with action dice is generally if your team relies on action dice, they're going to be the first dice you buy.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you don't care about actions and you're just buying them because you're Yanti spamming. It could be a good way to trigger team up. Like, if you've set up your board state, you're going to draw the dice you need to clear the field next turn.
Mm-hmm.
You want that team up just to put it in the prep area so you're guaranteed to roll it.
Yep. That's the only corner case I can think of that you would want to get a 5 drop, maybe.
A Green Devil Mask as well. But it's not worth it for the fight. I'd rather just buy the Green Devil Mask or the team up when I buy this.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of I want to buy that final combo piece that happens to be an action, but at what cost? The answer is 5, and that's just a lot.
I think this would be a ton of play if it was on a 2 or 3 drop.
Oh, totally. I totally agree. It would be a lot better, but unfortunately, it's stuck on a 5 drop, and for that reason, I can see the ability being functional, and so for that reason, I would give it a C-.
Yeah, I think
it's not optimal.
I think the ability to bring in a team up, such a powerful die that I would boost it a little bit to a C, but I'm not going to argue over. It's definitely leaning towards a C- rather than a C+.
Yeah, totally get it. All right, let's keep going. Orc Boy Slugga onto Orc Boy 2-drop Fist character, Orc affiliation, an 021 022 122. And it says when Orc Boy attacks it gets +1 attack if at least one other character die also attacks. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's okay. Stats are okay. I mean, the +1 kind of makes it.
You sound so excited for this card.
2-cost Fists, I mean, it's cheap. It's got good fielding. Guaranteed 2 across the board. I mean, I like that better than 1-1.
This card is totally well designed for a very simplified, pure version of the game where stats matter and purchase cost matters, and that's it. And so, what are those formats? Limited, draft, that sort of thing.
If you're a new player, this is a good die.
It's it's great for that.
Simple to understand. You can have 5 of them.
You can have 5. It's max 5. So scoop them up. I gave this a C. What about you?
Yeah, C-. I mean, yeah, it's just the minus is because it's boring.
It's not because it's unplayable or anything.
No.
The next one is Orc Boy Shooter, and it says when Orc Boy is KO'd, if you control an Orc character die other than Orc Boy, return Orc Boy to the field zone at level 1. It's really hard to say Orc Boy that many times and not mess it up. I like this one a little bit better.
You saying it is probably more interesting than
the
actual card itself.
I like this one a little better, mainly because you get that cool little cycle effect where he comes right back when you didn't expect him to, or that sort of thing. It's not game breaking and it's not super.
I kind of like the. Do you know why I gave this I think C. It's fine for this.
Yeah, we both gave this a C+. I gave this a C+ because this is just a fine card in most formats that are casual. And you could use it for some interesting, KO it, bring it back effects. But there's not a ton of those left in Modern. So you'd have to dip back into Golden if you wanted to take advantage of that sort of thing. And at that point, you're running this alongside, or this is getting dropped for Alfred. And those sorts of teams. But
I think I'm dropping my rating to a C on this.
Okay, you can do that.
I think
I'll still stick with
it
C+.
It kind of reminds me of the one of my favorite cards, which is really cheap. 2 cost is the Mr. Miracle.
Yeah, it's exactly
Where,
Mr. Miracle.
where when that gets KO'd, you can kind of swap out a card, which I kind of like better just because it gives you that swap out ability.
Yeah.
Which can be useful for cycling bigger statted dice that you want have that however when fielded or whatever. Also, the Mr. Miracle has better stats, so that's why I'm kind of giving Mr. Miracle the edge.
Now, Zach says that there's an infinite combo between this and the really bad 7-drop version of Ghazghkull Thraka. But I'm not seeing that.
I suppose if you... I don't know how that would trigger.
I don't know how it would be infinite.
Well, if you can get the Ghazghkull Thraka through unblocked,
yeah,
you can KO any number of character dice you control. So you KO the Orc Boy to deal 1 damage to your opponent. It comes back. The Orc Boy comes back because Ghazghkull Thraka is an Orc.
You'd KO them all at the same time, and that would be the end of that effect, though, right? You wouldn't just KO.
I would think so. I don't think you choose. I think you choose all the ones to KO. They'd all KO. Then you trigger all the KO'd effects.
That's what I was thinking too. But if you don't do it that way, like if for some reason it doesn't work that way, then that'd be interesting.
Yeah,
that would be infinite.
I would. It would. But I don't think it would work for that. But
I don't think that's how it works either. But how cool would that be?
Hey,
be pretty sweet.
I'm upping this and Ghazghkull Thraka to like a B.
Bingo! That would be a lot of fun. I would play that. And like it would be hilarious. The final Orc Boy.
We still have to get a 7 cost out in this set, which doesn't have a lot of ramp.
No, it would be really tough, but it would be fun. The last one's Orc Boy Rocket, and it says when Orc Boy is KO'd by a higher level character die. Sorry, I just can't stop with the Orc Boy thoughts. It's really hard to. It's like saying toy boat a bunch. Orc Boy. Oh, yeah, that's too difficult. All right, when it's KO'd by a higher level character die, return Orc Boy to the field zone and spin it up 1 level. Sorry, I have to get refocused. How do I feel about this one? I gave this a C+ as well. Why did I give this a C+? Namely, just because it works by itself, you know?
Yep. Well, I mean, I'm giving this a C+ as well, and here is why. It is a better version of the Mogrok we just talked about. Getting the free spin up is really nice.
Here's why I give it a C+. It's good against breath weapon.
And it's good against breath weapon, yeah.
That's the reason. I remember this. Because it's so good against breath weapon, it just cannot be removed. So that's pretty sweet.
There's also a very easy ability to trigger that kind of when KO'd. I mean, if your opponent attacks you, you can always get... And it gives you a high level character, which is just super good.
Yeah.
Getting levels is always good for stuff like the Polymorph Global, Mutation Global.
Yeah, you get a level 3 popped out and popped in. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like this. I like this way better than I like the shooter.
Yeah. All right. We both gave it a C+, right?
Also, if the Ghazghkull Thraka that you attack with is a higher level than the Orc Boy, it still comes back.
That's true. It does. Yeah.
So it triggers.
You could use it for that same exact effect.
Less of an infinite combo there. But.
Pretty cool. All right, so let's keep on cruising to Orc Nob. This is Big Choppa. This is a card I've played with. 2-drop mask character. Terrible fielding cost. You got a 1/2/1, a 1/3/2, and a 2/3/3. It's cool that you got a 3/3 on a 2-drop, but it's a 2/3/3. It says when a character die is KO'd, Orc Nob gets +1/+2 until the end of the turn. I have mixed feelings on this card, namely because I really liked it when they announced it, and the more I played with it, the more I thought just... because of that 3 cost.
I'm telling you that
level 3. Do what?
That turn 3, when you roll that 2 cost you bought really cheaply, and it comes up on 2 fielding or 3 fielding.
Yeah.
Is just awful.
And when it just burns your turn.
Turn 3 just kills you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's why that boom boom, is it like common?
Yeah.
The action one. That was spot just makes it. It's just unblockable infiltrate team.
I am
that
losing
has a 2 fielding cost.
I lost you there for a bit.
Oh, sorry. Am I?
Yeah, you're back. Say what you said again.
Yeah. So like that boom boom, the boom boom, and like the Ricochet rare, the one that they both have 2 fielding costs on level 3 side.
Yeah.
And that, if you want to get a die out early, having the 2 is just a pain.
Because you get it on turn 3, you roll it up, and then it comes up on that level 3 side. You have to pay 2 to field it, and you only have 1 die remaining if you have no ramp. Yeah, it just kills that 1 turn. And you got it out in the field, and that's great, but you slow down a ton. I will say this card gets a ton better, again, when that stat flip global happens, because all of those buffs will apply when you use something like a staff team board wipe, and then you stat flip and you just win. You only have to get one of these instead of 2. So
yeah, with the stat flip, it's the same as the uncommon Fix It.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot better, than it is in this current.
And it's cheaper. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like it a lot as an ability. I don't like the fielding, but you don't have to buy it so early. Maybe you buy your other pieces that you're going to use to clear the field,
or just get ramp.
First, and then buy him, or just set up your ramp, and then he's easy to switch in. This might be interesting on a Professor X team where turn 3 you roll it for energy instead, you keep the masks.
That's a great point. You don't necessarily have to roll it for character faces, but yeah, I gave this one. Let's see, I gave this a C+, just because it does just fit on teams like board wipey things. Breath weapon, you could even put this on if you had the stat flip thing going. You could put this on to obviously staff teams and that sort of thing. It just gets a lot better when that comes out. So we'll take a look and see how it is performing.
There are quite a lot of ways to blow up. There are quite a lot of ways to blow up fields in the current meta.
Yeah, there are.
I gave it a C, but I think it could play out that it goes close to that B minus. C+.
Yeah, I could see it drifting forward. The next one, not so much. The next one's a 3-drop mask character that's just Swarm. It's got Swarm. It's a 3-drop Swarm character. I hate this card. I don't like 3-drop Swarm, and I don't like 3-drop Swarm that I have to pay to field, especially if I roll it on level 3. I don't think 3-drop Swarm is ever good, because you have to invest just heaps more in what you're paying in energy and in time just to set up this ramp. That's okay. It's just really, I don't like this card. You could play it. You could definitely play it, but there's a lot better options. Even just swarm or range characters and the battle wagon that gives you range based on that, I would prefer over buying 3 or 4 of these.
Yeah, I mean, even if this was a 2-cost swarm, I don't know if it would be played over other 2-cost swarms we have. So who cares?
Yeah, I give this a D-. What about you?
D. D, F. I don't really care.
It's pretty bad. It's not great.
It's a D.
Yeah,
it's not F. But
it's ramp. No so yeah, it's ramp. So I wouldn't give it an F because maybe it's totally playable. But
yeah,
it's real. It's real.
If you can somehow get 4 of these dice, it's probably one of the best forms of ramp in this set. But
sure,
doesn't say much.
No. Orc Nob Power Claw, other 3-drop version. This one says, while an Orc character die with purchase cost 4 or greater is active, Orc Nob gets +1/+1 and is free to field. This one I find interesting. And so the question is a 3-cost 4/4 for free good enough to run casually? And I would think that, yeah, it's probably good enough to run casually. But at that point, you're only running it for good stats, and you're playing in a very casual or limited event. If you're looking for something more than that just doesn't do anything, If you're succeeding in getting this card to activate, then you get a 4/4 on top for nothing, and that's it. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think taking away the stats kind of just makes it an okay card.
Yeah.
And giving it +1/+1 just makes it fine. So essentially just look at it as a blank card.
It is very much a blank card.
Okay stats for a 3-cost.
Yeah. So I gave this a D+, but I feel like a D is about right where it should be. What'd you give it?
Maybe there's something, but I mean, I was just down on,
Say that again.
Some of these cards,
you broke up there for a bit.
They went through a bad patch. Sorry, they went through a bad patch in these cards, and I was just like, yeah, D. You know. So yeah, this is probably okay. The 4/4, maybe with that other one that gives Orcs +1/+1 as well.
A 3-cost 5/5. Now
the Mogrok, yeah. Then you have 5/5 for free. That's nice.
I could see that, and hence why the D+ kind of rings true in my mind. Like you could put other things there that would probably be more impactful.
Yeah.
So. Moving on from Orc Nob, looking at Stompa. Here we go. Stompa, Claw Stompa. 9-drop fist character, range 2, when fielded KO 2, target opposing character dice. This is a max 2. The stat line's kind of interesting. It's a 176, 287, and 299. So a 299. How do you feel about this ability for a 9-drop?
It's okay. I mean, it's cool. It's cool. Carrying 2 opposing character dice is really nice. Been playing around with the Earth-X Thor a little bit. You know, that lets you carry. One of my friends has been playing with it quite a lot, which lets you carry maybe 3 characters.
Yeah.
And that is a pretty big board swing.
Yes, it is.
It's got great, 299 is pretty amazing.
Yes, it is. And it's got range 2, so it could do even more clearing right after that.
Yeah. Which is, it's cool. I might put this on a team, but I'm never buying it. So,
yeah, therein lies the problem. The KO thing is really strong, but it's one of those things that you're never gonna buy because you just don't have the ramp for it, unless you're playing exactly like limited wish format, like 3 wishes.
Yeah.
In which case, yay, you have this.
But then, are you doing that or are you doing the next card?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a good sort of back and forth because this one does board swing a little bit more than the next one that we're talking about, versus this one, which KOs 2 things. That one we'll talk about in a minute. So I gave this a C- because it's super cool, but it's really almost impossible to get to 9 energy and not just absolutely be losing at that moment.
I'm trying to think what would, if this has slightly worse stats and it was a 6 cost,
it would be really good. It'd be really good. KO 2 things,
cost, it'd still be probably pretty good. Maybe up to, I mean, for a 6 cost, it'd probably be a B.
Yeah, it would be very good. You would want to go for it, and you'd want to put it on a cycle team, but it's not that. It's a 9 cost, and so that for me is like a C- because that ability is solid if you can somehow get there.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm a C- as well. Yeah, probably B. So if it was a 6 cost, it'd be a B, a B-. Then it's a 7 cost, it'd probably be a B-, C+. 8 cost, it'd be a C+, C. So 9 cost is like a C-.
Yeah, it works its way all the way down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting card, but you're just not getting to it very often. Speaking of interesting cards, we got Stompa Big Max. This one made people go crazy because when it was first released, because it's a max 1 and it's a 9-drop, and it has this ability that says, obviously range 2, whatever. When fielded, KO target opposing character die and return it to its card. That character cannot be purchased next turn.
That's super cool. The ability is super fun. Just why is it a 9? Why is it on a 9?
How do we get that to be not 9? What do? You Ring of Winter and you use the Kree Captain Global, and then just have the other energy.
Ramp, I guess.
And so that would reduce it. Let's see, it would reduce it to 7, a net 7, right?
Yep.
That's just still too hard. It's too difficult. Oh, it's such a cool card, though. Such a cool thing.
You need the Uncommon Collector. You need to buy the Uncommon Collector.
That was what I was about to say. Yeah, that's the only thing you need is Uncommon Collector. So you need to pay 6 for this, essentially. And then you get this.
And cycle the 6 cost.
Yeah. So.
Which is good. I mean, and then both of those are when fielded effects, so you probably need something that cycles when fielded effects, which is really cool.
Yeah. Hey, look. CCM just said what we just said in chat. He's right there with us. Uncommon Collector is the only real way you're getting any of these cards.
But I mean, that's not competitive, is it? So
no, this is not competitive. It's super fun and semi-competitive if you could somehow get it.
I love this card.
I give this one a C. What about you?
I gave it a C as well. I'm putting this on a team, hands down. I'm just never going to be able to buy it.
Yeah, I actually have a team with this and Uncommon Collector currently. Haven't played it yet because I still haven't figured out what to do with the other couple slots. Because Uncommon Collector is just so interestingly backwards in the way that you build a team because of his ability.
So the thing this reminds me of most, and what I love about this card is how interesting the ability is, and how unusual it is. This is the only card that does anything particularly like this specifically.
Yeah.
A card I kind of compare it to is the 7-cost uncommon Thanos from Guardians of the Galaxy, the one that let you never field.
Yeah.
You choose a card, and then your opponent can never field that die.
Yep.
And that was a super cool card, but how much do you see that played?
No, exactly. Therein lies the problem. It's just too expensive for a really, really powerful thing. So, it would be fun to do, but
oh man, I want this. Like, how good would this be on like a 4-cost or a 5-cost? I mean, sure, you give it really, really crappy stats, like you give it like 1 attack, like you give it like blob stats, right?
Yeah.
And then I don't know what stats you give it. 1/1. You just make it 1/1 across the board, but you put it on a 4-cost.
Just give us this on like the tiniest stick. Yeah.
Screw the range. Who cares?
No. Just give us that ability. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the last one. Last one's Mechanical God. It's got 8-drop. Woohoo! Overcrush and Frag. Overcrush on 9/9 is nothing to scoff at.
Right.
So, there you go.
Yeah. Who cares about Frag? But 8 cost. I mean, this is okay. This is cool. This is strong. If you got it ever, it would be good. Not as exciting as the other two.
So I ran the comps, as you would say, if you were working in like real estate or whatever. And there are only 12 6-drops or higher that have Overcrush. So because of that, it's worth considering. But you would always run the double Overcrushing Thanos, unless for some reason.
He has the best stats in the game as well, no?
A 9/9.
This is probably the best on die. This must be the statted die.
I think the Thanos is the same way, but the 3 on top,
3/9/9, right?
Yeah. So this one would edge him by just a bit, but it's not double Overcrush. So this one to me just gets it's the poster boy of the rating for the D because it's functional, but it's literally outclassed, done better on a card they just printed in that double Overcrush Thanos or the cost reduction Overcrush Thanos.
Yeah. So I gave it a D+ just because it gets pluses for having shiny older brothers.
Yeah. There you go. Shiny older brothers. Cool. Let's keep going to Storm Boys. I love Storm Boys. This one is Da Volca Squad. I don't know if that's how you say it. Da Volca Squad. It's Volca. It's going to be Volca. Yeah. I don't know why I tried to be German. Anyway, 4-cost bold character orc affiliation. A 1/4/2, 1/4/3, 2/4/5 stat line. And it says, when fielded, deal damage equal to Storm Boy's attack to target opposing character die. Thoughts?
Yeah, consistent damage. With you're going to get 4 across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be able to deal 4. 4 doesn't make that much of a difference. And I like the Huntress that does 2, 3, or 4 better. When fielded, which has the same ability. I like the Hawkeye that had the same ability a lot better.
Well, this always wipes a Shriek, and this almost always wipes a Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, it feels like you're paying.
You got to pay a lot for it. The 4 plus the 1 or the 2. Definitely.
And when fielded dual damage, it's not exciting, is it?
It's not super exciting, but I could see you playing this on some decent teams because of the ability to pull off like 1 or 2 of those control pieces.
I think if you're running an Orcs team, this is good removal.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. So what did you give this one?
A C.
I gave this one a C+. Just because it does KO things that are out of set powerful, but it KOs a lot of stuff in set powerful. So
I wish it was cheaper fielding and maybe just 3 attack rather than 4 attack.
Mm-hmm.
Because 3 attack is enough currently. That's the sweet spot of damage.
Yeah.
Do you need to do in the current meta?
Yeah, it
4
is.
Doesn't do enough.
But who knows? I mean, with a couple of other things pushing into the scene, then maybe 4 becomes a little bit more notable.
Mm-hmm.
The next Storm Boys is probably my favorite Storm Boys because it's a 4-drop and it has Intimidate. And it also has this sweet global that says pay a bolt. Once per turn, target character gets range 1. So this is Storm Boys Chop a Storm. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, there's some shenanigans to be had with this this global. Intimidate, I mean, I like Intimidate. I think it's a good ability. I don't like the fielding costs, so it's not my favorite Storm Boys. But I gave it a B just because of the global.
All right, so I love Intimidate. I think it's a really powerful ability, and putting it on a 4-drop is really, really good. Like, I would buy multiple Storm Boys just to intimidate multiple times because it is that board flippy powerful. And then talking about the global is even crazier because it's not quite known what happens when you use this on a ranged character. I was talking with a couple of people and trying to figure out if this stacks in the sense that like the character would get range 1 plus, and they would also have their other range keyword, or if this would replace range on the range value on their card, or if this would negate something. You know, like we were running through all of the possibilities of what this could do when you play it on a character with range already, and the consensus is everyone throws their hands up and goes, we have no clue. So there's a WizKids rules forum post on it right now, or not a post on it, but a question has been posed. From what I could tell, I didn't type it the question, but from what I can tell, the question has been posed, and we'll see if they answer it. If you can put this onto a character with range already, that makes a couple of other cards really, really good.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why I gave it such a high rating. The other thing I will say about the Intimidate is that they've never gone lower than 4 for an Intimidate, which is just a straight up Intimidate.
Yeah.
Have they? I mean, they always come with kind of stipulations if it's a 3 cost.
Exactly. And
it would be interesting to see. So, I mean, yeah, I just don't like the fielding costs if I want to keep fielding stuff.
True. The fielding costs are bad, but I think Intimidate is worth it. Like, one of the only abilities that, to me, is worth it. So I would give this one a B- because I think it's up there in that starting to become competitive type things, especially for the global. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a B just because that global, I think, is going to be very good.
Yeah.
Especially in set. I mean, this is one of the power cards in set.
The last Orc Storm Boys, is Storm Boys Flashy Sky Boys, and it's a 4-drop range 2 with the same global. How do you feel about range 2 versus Intimidate?
I like the name of this, Flashy Sky Boys.
Flashy Sky Boys.
These are good names. Yeah, I like this one a lot as well. I like this a little bit better than the Intimidate one, just because on the stats it has, I just would rather attack with it. Then if you're paying the 2, at least it stays in the field probably when you attack with it.
Yeah.
And then it gives you the range character to enable you to do shenanigans with the global.
Yeah. I don't like the range 2 as much as I like Intimidate, because Intimidate removes something of any health for 1 turn, whereas range can remove something for 1 turn of 2 or less health.
I like when the range 2 triggers better for the stats this die has. I like Intimidate better than I like the range ability, but not on this die.
So what'd you give this one?
I think they're both good. I gave this a B as well, because I don't think there's enough difference in the abilities for me to differentiate. I just think that global is worth a B by itself.
Cool. Oh yeah, that's true. I gave this a C+ just because if I gave the other one a B-, then this one's just one little half step lower, and so I'm all into this one. If that global does end up quote unquote stacking on top of, like, giving a character a second range keyword, then I would bump this up to that B-, because they're both equal.
Yeah. So currently, the way we're playing it, this doesn't do anything to this die.
That's what I would play it as until otherwise. But we'll see. All right, moving on to War Biker Zoggoff. This is a 3-drop shield character with a 032, 133, 143 stat line. Good stats. And it says, while War Biker is active, prevent all damage from the range ability to your Orc character dice. How do you feel about this?
Finally good stats is probably the best set of stats for a cheap character we've seen in this set.
Yeah, I agree.
It's cool. It's very strong in set. If you're playing just Warhammer stuff, this could make Orcs probably a decent, if not the. I don't know. It's difficult to say. There's good cards. I think they've done a really good job of making each faction have a power card, and then this is the power card for the Orcs. Right?
I agree. This is a really, really good card in set. Preventing range, making it one-sided, and your opponent can't take use of it is really solid.
But it also doesn't stop range from triggering as well, which is really good.
Yes.
It prevents turn without their control characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think with the that glow, is it I Want You, the one that makes your opponent's characters attack on an action.
I'm not sure.
If you allowed basic actions, because there's not that many free actions which make your opponent's attack. This could be very good. I'm just trying to think of ways to make Warhammer teams
super competitive. Yeah. I like this card a lot. I think it's really powerful for the inset, like we were just talking about. I think it's just solid. It keeps everything from all on your side from being hit, and you can just keep ranging. So it's up there. I gave it a B. What do you give it?
A C plus.
Cool.
I'm not convinced that Orcs are the way to go, but yeah, this is good.
The next one is 3-cost Warbiker Daka Guns. Daka Guns. There you go. While Warbiker is active, prevent the first point of damage to your sidekick character dice from each source. So this is good for preventing board clears and pings and stuff. Mm-hmm. So like if you were up against a Breath Weapon 1 dragon, which I don't know why you'd ever be up against that, but that stops that. It stops Seething Corruption or just like spin up deal 1 kind of things, which are in set.
If your opponent has anti-breath weapon 1, which is the cheapest anti-breath weapon, I know all this stuff because I've been practicing for Worlds. This is okay. I think this is probably better out of set than most of the cards in this set.
This is better than Jubilee, better against Jubilee, better against anything that deals 1.
It's also a way to, if you're running a sidekick team, now you can have a sidekick team and put Magic Missile in. Because there's sometimes when you have a team that you want Magic Missile in for certain reasons.
Yeah.
But you want to have sidekicks, so you're like running like a Mimic team, but then this doesn't protect Mimic. But there are reasons sometimes you want lots of sidekicks in your field, and you want Magic Missile, and this could be a good solution for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because it stops that from happening. They have to pay double.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Or they can't, just period. Yeah, I gave it a C+. What about you?
Yes, I think I gave it a C. I gave it a C. Yeah.
Cool.
I like it.
Last one.